Hello all, in today's video, we are going to cover the top 80 manual testing interview questions and answers. These are the some questions which are generally asked while taking the manual testing interview. So the first basic question is, what is meant by software? Software is nothing but a set of instructions or the code which is used to achieve a specified task. So for example, calculator is an application, so it's a software. So behind that calculator some code is written to achieve the different functionalities like addition, subtraction, multiplication. The next main question is, what is meant by software testing? So software testing is nothing but checking the behavior of particular software, means whether a software is behaving according to a expected output. Means software testing is nothing but checking the expected, whether the actual result is matching with the expected result. Then what is meant by software quality? Software quality is nothing but whatever the requirements which are specified by the customer are all achieved is defined in the software quality. So here in software quality, we need to check the standard of particular software and the whether all the requirements which are specified by customer are covered or not. Then what is the need of software testing? The main need of software testing is to check whether your software is defect free, and the main thing is to achieve the customer satisfaction, because without testing, if you hand over the software to a customer and they found some errors or the defect, then it will give a bad impact, and after the production stage, covering that particular error or correcting that particular defects is very costly method. So the main need of software testing is to deliver the bug free or defect free software to a customer and to achieve a customer satisfaction. Then the main question is, what is meant by error, bug and failure? So error is nothing but this, if there is some mistake in the code, means while writing a code the developer has made some error. So it may be a syntactical error or the logical error. Bug is also known as a defect, means if your software is not matching with the expected output, then it is known as a defect or bug. And failure means what? When software is delivered to an end user and it found that the behavior of software is not according to expected output, then it is known as a failure. There may be a chances of for example, the system is get crashed, so it's one kind of failure. Then what is mean by software development lifecycle or SDLC? SDLC is nothing but a software development lifecycle. It is a process of developing a software. It includes the different phases like requirement gathering, analysis of requirement, then design, then coding, then testing of the particular software, then delivery of particular software, then the maintenance stage will come. So this is nothing but the different phases of software development. Then what are the different SDLC models? The different SDLC models are like waterfall model, spiral model, integration model, then agile model are the different models which are comes under the software development life cycle. As we know, in waterfall they will follow a systematic approach, means our first analysis, first requirement gathering will be done, then after that they will analyze the particular requirement, then draw some diagram, then after that they will do a coding. After coding, there are the different design after coding, the testing will be done. After testing, if all testing is done, then it will assign to a end user, means delivery of particular software, and then maintenance stage will become. So after other models, please watch for explanation of other model, please watch the video made for SDLC models. I will give the link for the same in description box as well as on I button. Then what is meant by verification and validation? Verification is nothing but we are checking whatever the system or whatever the software we are building is the right one, and validation is nothing but we are actually checking the software. Means verification stage comes whenever the software is in development stage, means we are verifying whether it is correct, and in validation we are checking whether the developed software is correct or not. Then the static and dynamic testing. Static testing means what? In static testing is an approach where the software is tested according to a document. So there are different stages comes like review, walkthrough, inspection. Means we are checking in the review, we are checking the requirement review, whatever the requirement you have collected is correct or not. We are checking the whatever diagram you have drawn is correct or not. We check the code, we check the test plan, test cases. So it comes under the static testing. Then also walkthrough, inspection also comes under the static testing. And in dynamic testing, the actual software testing is done in the dynamic testing. So here we'll give a input and check the output whether your particular software is matching with the expected, whatever the expected output and actual output is correct or not. Then the main question is, what is meant by black box testing and what are the different types of black box testing? So black box testing is nothing but here we give a input and check the output. Here we need not to bother about the whatever the logic written in the code or how that particular output is generating. Just we are going to give a input and check the output. Then the different types of black box testing are like GUI testing, usability testing, functional testing, non-functional testing. These are the different black box testing type. So first we'll look at the what is mean by GUI testing. So GUI is nothing but it is a graphical user interface. For example, the on calculator application there are buttons like plus button, numbers are there, minus button, star button, division button, equal to button, right? So this is nothing but the graphical user interface. So in GUI testing here we check whether your software how it is look, how it is feel, is it easy to use. If I want to close the calculator, is there any cross button, is if I click on the equal to button, is it giving the output on the screen. So this is nothing but the GUI testing. Then for GUI testing what we need to actually test, so here in GUI testing we need to check the URL of particular software. Means if I have given any web link, by clicking on the web link whether it is opening the particular window. Then here we need to check the alignment of object. Means whether the all the symbol plus minus equal to are in one row, whether all numbers are in one side. And we need to check the display of that particular application or software. Means when I add a 2 plus 3 is equal to 5, whether that 5 is comes into the output window. And here we also need to check the consistency of your application. Means first I have writing a 2 plus 5 is 2 plus 3 is equal to 5, and again when I am trying to add the 2 plus 3 it is giving the output 8. So it is not the correct one, so I need to check the consistency of output. Also I need to check the appearance of particular software. Means whatever will be the background color which is specified by the customer, is it right, is it matching with the same or not. Then the next is usability testing. So usability testing means here we need to check the use of software. Means how easily the end user will able to handle a software. Means by looking at the calculator, anyone can able to add any two number, anyone can able to add a or divide two numbers or anything, any mathematical operation they can perform by looking at just calculator. It not be a very complicated application, they are not going to read a, there is no need to read any help document, or we can say a help or whatever will be the document or manual comes with the software. So your software must be a self explanatory, is nothing but the usability testing. Then what is meant by functional testing? In functional testing we check the different functions of your software, like we will give an input to software and check how it is behaving. Then database of your software, the error handling capability of software, then the different calculation based testing will be done. So this is nothing but the functional testing. Then the main question is, what is meant by object property testing? Object property testing is nothing but here we will check whether the software is able to enable, disable, focus the software or the fields in the software. Means if we try to focus on the text box, so is it possible, is nothing but the object property testing. Then input domain testing is nothing but here we will give a input to your software and then check how during input domain testing, here we need to validate data provided to a application is with respect to value and length, means how many numbers I can enter or how many numbers I can add at the same time is nothing but the input domain testing. So here we check the mainly we check the whatever the input we are giving with respect to a value and length, means whatever will be the boundary or how many numbers I can enter in the calculator at the same time, I need to check in a input domain testing. Then what is meant by database testing? In database testing, here a software tester will check the database or whatever input you are giving is rightly replicated into a database, means if I am entering my name, then I'm going to cross check it with the database whether the same name is reflected in the database is nothing but a database testing. So here in database testing, as a tester you must have the SQL language knowledge, means you must be able to write queries for create table, delete table, drop table, means you must have the knowledge of DDL, DML, DCL commands. Okay, so here in database testing, basically you will validate the data which you have entered from the software is correctly stored in the database, or if you want to fetch the data for particular customer name, then whether it is giving a right, whether it is producing a right output of the same customer is nothing but a database testing. Then the main testing type is next one is a error handling testing. So what is mean by error handling testing? Here we are going to check whether your software is reacting clearly for any error. Means, for example, if we provide an invalid input, then how your system is behaving. Means for calculator, if I am giving a plus b, then it must show me a proper error message that you must enter a integer values, right? So this is nothing but the error handling testing. Here you are going to check if end user is behaving or entering some invalid input, then how your system is handling that particular error. Then calculation testing is nothing but in calculation testing, here we validate the mathematical calculations. Means if for example there is some application related and where you are going to place a order of any product, and if you order two products, then it must give a sum of whatever will be the value of one product into two is equal to the your order value. If there is any discount that if for example there is a 10% discount, then it must be minus that particular 10% value and give you a correct output or correct value is nothing but the calculation testing. Then link coverage testing means what? In link coverage testing, here we'll check the place or the location of a link. Means for example, if there is a one web link, if I click on the web link, it must open the that particular web page. If there is a home link or navigation links will be there, by clicking on the navigation link, or if I want to move on the home page, if I click on the home link, it must go to a home page itself is nothing but the link coverage. Then the cookies and sessions means what? The cookies are nothing but the temporary internet files, okay, which are created at the client side, and sessions are the time slot which are allotted to a user at server side. So for example, if I want to access the 10th result, SSC result, then if I click on it, it will ask some website will ask you to store the cookies. Means that particular session or that particular web page is stored at your machine, and in future if you require it will not go to a server side, it will give you the output from your machine only is nothing but the cookies. And in session, you have checked with the some government sites, if you are filling some exam forms for government examination, they will close the session after few time, means after 10 minutes, 15 minutes if you are idle. Okay, so it is for the security purpose. The session timing is given or the session is allotted. Then what is meant by non-functional testing? In non-functional testing, we check the performance of system, means by giving the stress testing, by checking the stress or load testing, volume testing, security testing are nothing but the different types which comes under the non-functional testing. So first type of non-functional testing is a performance testing. So what is mean by performance testing? In performance testing, we are checking the performance of a software, means how your system is performing. So basically here in performance testing, load testing, stress testing, volume testing is comes under it. So what is meant by load testing? In load testing, we check the load of your software, means if I have specified 100 customer information must be stored, so I will check with the 100 entries how it is reacting. And in stress testing, I will enter 101 entry how your system is reacting or behaving. In volume testing, we check how much volume or data is able to handle by your system, means I will enter a 200 data, and whether your system is handling it, how it is handling that particular stress or load, is check under the performance testing. Then the next is security testing. So security testing is nothing but here we check the authentication or access control or encryption or decryption of a software, means whether the software is able to handle only by the authenticated user, means if I have a valid user id and password, then I must be able to access the software. If I don't have the valid id and password and still I am able to handle access the software, is the it there are the chances of failing security testing. Then recovery testing means what? In recovery testing, how your system is recovering from the abnormal to normal condition, means if you have opened up one particular web page and suddenly your internet connection is gone or your web browser is closed, then when you again relog into a same page, it must be recovered from the last point where you are. Then what is meant by compatibility testing? In compatibility testing, we check how your system is compatible with the different browsers or the hardware, means I have developed a calculator application or the software and it's working on only on the chrome, so it's not like that. The software must be able to open on the all web browser. It must support to the, if it is a web application, it must support to the all the laptops or the all computers having the different hardware. If it is a mobile application, then it will support all the mobiles, is nothing but the compatibility testing. So generally in compatibility testing, we check the hardware and software compatibility, browsers compatibility, forward and backward compatibility. Means I have developed a software on the old version. So whether it is able to open on the new version of particular uh, web browser. So this kind of testing is also comes under the compatibility testing. Then the next question is what is meant by review, walkthrough and inspection. So generally the review is nothing but we will review a document's correctness, means whatever the documents which are related with your software are correct or not, is nothing but review. In walkthrough, it's a formal review, or if there are some team members or the peer members, they will check your software behavior, how it is behaving. And in inspection, it's a formal review. They will review your whole software with respect to a document or whatever the points they have. Then the main question is what are the different levels of testing. So the different levels of testing are nothing but a unit testing, integration testing, system testing and user acceptance testing are different levels of the software testing. Then the different testing methodologies are there. So different testing methodologies are nothing but a white box testing, black box testing and gray box testing. So in white box testing, we'll just give the input and check the output with respect to its logic or the code written, means it's nothing but a deep testing. So here the logic or the code of program is also checked. So here the skill testers are required. In black box testing, we'll just give a input and check the output of your software. In gray box testing, it's a combination of white box and black box testing. Here the tester must have at least basic knowledge of code, because here when we are going to check the output with respect to logic as well. Then what are the distance different testing methodologies? So the basically the testing methodology, gray box testing is there, and one another methodology is the red box testing. So basically the red box testing is nothing but here we'll check a user acceptance testing, means whether your software is correctly developed as per the user expectations. Then what is meant by retesting? In retesting, we if any defect or bug is found, then we have to check whether that particular bug is correctly removed, that defect is closed or nothing. For that, we need to retest the software. Then the main question is, what is mean by test plan, or what is the definition of test plan? So generally, to test a particular software, we have to do a planning. So what is mean by planning? So here we will develop one particular document which describe the scope, approach, or what are the different resources we require, what will be the schedule for testing is included in the test planning. Here basically we plan the process of testing, means how much time it will require to test the software, how many resources it will require is nothing but a test planning. Then what is meant by regression testing? Regression testing is basically if you have a you found a one defect, right? And when you assign that defect to a developer correct that particular defect, and when they will give you a that new build, you are going to perform a retesting. After retesting, you are going to check whether the newly developed particular build is how it behave with the old functionality. Means for example, I have developed a calculator, okay, and customer told me to add a modulus button. So when I add a modulus button, when I received a new build by adding the modulus button, I need to check whether how it is behaving with the old functionalities like addition, subtraction, division. With that, I need to check the new functionality of module button, right? So this is nothing but the regression testing. Then the main question is, what is meant by sanity? Sanity is nothing but we are going to check the basic functionality or the core behavior of your software. And in smoke testing, here also need to check a basic functionality with a some extra things, or if any bug you will find, then you here in smoke testing you are going to try to find out the root cause analysis why this particular bug is happening is nothing but the smoke testing. Then what is meant by end to end testing? End to end testing is nothing but you are going to test a whole software or the whole functionality of system. So this is nothing but the end to end testing. Means here you, if you want to check the calculator application, here you are going to start with the addition button to the modulus button. Each and every functionality or each and every module you are going to test into a end to end testing. Then the next type is what is meant by exploratory testing. So in exploratory testing, you are generally going to check the application, or you are going to understand the functionality. Means if you are new to particular domain and you don't have any knowledge regarding to that domain, then by checking the different application or the different information related to that particular application, you are going to explore the information and then you are going to do a exploratory testing. So by understanding the functionality of a software, you are going to perform the exploratory testing. Then as we have checked the GUI testing, then the main testing type is what is next question is mainly a object property testing. So what is mean by object property testing? Object property testing is nothing but we are going to check the different objects of your particular software. Means if the we can say the object properties are nothing but here we are going to check the input whatever we are giving to a system. So whether it is enable or disable. The next main question is what is mean by STLC? STLC is nothing but the software testing life cycle. Here we are going to check the how what are the different phases comes under the STLC. Means as I want to test the software, then what are the different phases? So the different phases comes under the software testing life cycle are requirement analysis, test planning, test design, test execution, test closure are the different phases which comes under the STLC. Then the main question always asked in the interview is what is meant by agile. So agile is nothing but one methodology of software development life cycle. So here the Development of software is continuously done in the iteration by taking the feedback from customer. Means if I am developing a software, then by developing one module I am going to take a feedback of customer. If they suggest some changes, I am going to do that. So repeatedly here the feedback from the customer is take place. Then the main question is what is mean by test plan. As we have seen, the test plan is means what? Test plan is nothing but a planning of a software. So what are the contents of test planning? The test plan include the different contents, like it have the object, then features what we have to test it, what we are not going to test here, what we are going to skip here, what approach we are going to use, what is the entry criteria for software testing, what is the exit criteria for same, then what will be a test environment, what are the test deliverables, what are the risk while testing, is nothing but the different testing test plan content. Then what is mean by use case? Use case is nothing but the requirement. In simple word you can say a use case is nothing but a requirement. Here in use case it include a input, requirement and output. Means what is the input we are going to check for particular module, and what will be the output is nothing but the use case. Then test scenario means what? The test scenario is nothing but it is the high level, or we can say it's a high level description of requirement. And in test case is nothing but it include a steps, it include a steps to check a test scenario. So what is the difference between use case and test case? So in use case it describes the functional requirement which are included in a SRS or your BRS, and in test case there are different steps which are included to check the functionality of software. Means for example, I have to check a calculator, then in test case there is steps to check the calculator. Then what is the difference between test scenario and test case? So test scenario is nothing but the high level functionality checking. Means for example, the test scenario is describing check the addition, check the addition. Then in test case there are the steps, means how I am going to check the addition, that is enter some number, then click on the plus button, then I enter second number, then click on the equal to button and check the output, is nothing but the difference between test case and test scenario. Then what are the contents of test case? So the test case contain test case ID, its title, then description, precondition, then requirement ID, steps, expected result, actual result, and test data. So these are the nothing but different contents of the test case. Then the next question is what is meant by installation testing. So installation testing is nothing but here we are checking how whether your software is easily get installed, whether it whatever the steps you have specified, by applying that steps or following that step, whether it is get successfully installed. Then the next question is sanitization testing or garbage testing. Means check whether the developer has added some extra features in it which are not required. So this is nothing but the sanitization testing. In error handling testing we check the how your system is behaving or handling the errors. Then we have seen the calculation link control. Then the main question we are going to look at is nothing but the what is mean by defect reporting, or what is mean by defect. So as we have seen, the defect is nothing but your system is not matching with the expected output, or actual output is not matching with the expected result, is nothing but the defect. So here, the main or the first question is the defect reporting. Means, as a tester, if you found that the software is not behaving according to a actual output, you need to report the defect. Means, you have to log that defect by using some tools, whatever whatever tool is used in the organization, like Jira tool or HPLM. Then, what are the different contents of the defect reporting? The defect reporting contain the defect reporting contains the defect ID, then the status of report, then the date of close, or the what are the different steps to reproduce the defect, then what is mean by who has find out the defect, then who found the defect, who to whom we have assigned the defect. Then what is meant by defect severity? Defect severity is nothing but a how that particular defect is defect is impacted on the application, or how that particular depending on the error or the defect, how that particular defect is affecting on the functionality of system. Then what is meant by defect priority? The defect priority is nothing but how what is the priority to handle the defect, means whether we need to cover that particular defect in very short span, or whether it is having a time. Then the main question is the what is meant by defect triage, means if I found a defect, then what are the different steps I need to follow to close that defect. Means first the large number of defect, then if I found a defect, then I need to check the severity and priority of defect, then what are the steps I have carried out to close that particular defect. Then what is meant by defect resolution? Defect resolution is nothing but after receiving a defect from testing team, the development team review that defect. They will check whether the defect is genuine or not. If it is genuine, they will accept it, otherwise they will reject it. If the defect is duplicate, they will tell this defect is already logged on. So if they require any extra information, they will ask. So in defect triage, they will follow the steps like they will first we need to assign the defect to a development team. Then they will check whether the defect is correct or genuine or not. If it is genuine, they will correct it. Then we have to check retest the software, and then we have to close the defect. Then what are the different states of defect? The different states of defect like new, open, then in progress, close are the different states of the defect. So new means once a defect is found, then the first step is a new state. Once after that, when it will assign to a developer or person who is going to solve that defect, then it state is a open state. Then after that, there will be a in progress state, or once it close, there are the stage that close state. So these are the different states of defect. Then what is meant by localization testing? In localization testing, it will check the which language is supported by your software. Then what are the characteristics of good testing test cases? So the characteristic of good test case is nothing but it must cover all the functionality of your particular application. Then what is meant by defect density? The defect density is nothing but a number of defects are identified into particular requirement. Then the next main question is positive and negative testing. Here in positive testing we'll check the positive scenarios, and in negative testing we'll check the negative scenario. So for example, in calculator we will give a 1 plus 2 is equal to 3, and in negative testing we are checking by giving some negative inputs or by giving some different input and how your system is behaving. Then the test data is nothing but a data which is required for the testing. So for example, the number 2 plus 3 is nothing but a test data, and for test execution there are the some steps which are covered for a or which required for the testing, or what are the steps we follow to carry out the testing is nothing but the test execution. Then after that, the test bed is nothing but it's an environment or some setup of hardware and software which is required to test a software is nothing but test bed, or it is also known as a test environment setup. Then the last question is what is meant by defect reporting. Once you found a defect, you have to log that defect by using some tool or whatever the method your organization is following, means through email, so through HPLM, through Jira, So this is nothing but the defect reporting. By filling all the details, you are going to log the defect. Is nothing but the defect reporting. So these are the some questions. I have tried to give you a high level answers or one line answers for all these questions. For the detail so of each and every question, please check the links, different links given in the description box. I have tried to cover the different points in very detail in other videos. So thank you all. Please subscribe to our channel. Please share and comment on which point you want a next video.